Back on the tennis courts in Melbourne, but can Novak Djokovic stay there? Within hours of his visa victory, he's still facing the threat of deportation, as Australian Border Force officials are investigating whether he falsely claimed he hadn't travelled before jetting off to Australia. How then to explain images like this, seemingly taken in Spain over the New Year's weekend?
Happy New Year for everybody at Soto Grande Tennis Academy.
Ultimately, a false declaration on an immigration form can even lead to a prison term.
Now, there are allegations that, that he perhaps hadn't, fully completed his landing card upon arrival to declare the countries that he had been in the 14 days prior to visiting Melbourne. So I think those are real concerns. And obviously, and again, it will be weighed up as to whether it is in the public interest to allow Novak Djokovic to remain in Australia.
These were the scenes yesterday as the fans of Djokovic learned he'd won his court battle before the uncertainty of his visa returned.
Freedom, freedom, freedom.
Then, after days of confusion as to whether a particular state or the country itself grants vaccine exemptions, the Premier of the state of Victoria said this.
The issue of who gets into the country and their vaccination status, though, is not a matter for state governments. I don't issue visas. The Commonwealth Government does that. This is a very active process. As you know, there was a court ruling last evening. Whether that's appealed is a matter for the Commonwealth Government. Whether the Immigration Minister uses his quite extraordinary powers, that's a matter for him.
This was Djokovic in the final of last year's Australian Open. Today he was confirmed as the top seed for this year's tournament. That's despite the ongoing uncertainty of whether he'll make it at all.
Without him, it would be a huge loss for the Australian Open, especially after all they've gone through in the past few days. The hours in court, the days from Djokovic spent in detention, and also the effort and now embarrassment by the federal government.
For now, Djokovic must wait. But if he loses his visa again and is deported, he faces a ban on even travelling to Australia in the next 3 years. Julian Drucker, 5 News.